The number one most valuable asset in your business. When I ask the question about what you think your number one asset is in your business, it's funny the answers I get because people think about, well, maybe it's my marketing, or maybe it's my list, or maybe it's my customer base, or maybe it is, one thing or another. And they think of mostly either tangible or intangible assets that are things inside their business. There are things that are running, that are elements of stuff that they're doing on a daily basis. But the reality is, it's much simpler than that. And it's actually staring you right in the mirror, because your most important asset in your entire business is you as the business owner, because you are the only asset that determines how valuable your other assets are and ultimately how valuable your business is, because you are the only asset that can affect them, that can utilize them, and that can make decisions about them. So it's sort of interesting and a little weird that knowing that, right? It's amazing but true that most entrepreneurs and business owners, we put ourselves last and we don't take care of ourselves. I mean, if you had a prize-winning racehorse or a purebred dog, you wouldn't starve it or feed it garbage or run it until it drops, would you? Or if you had a rare painting or a valuable sports collector's item, you wouldn't just leave it on the floor or maybe spill a drink on it, would you? I mean, of course not. You'd take really good care of that stuff, and you'd make sure that everything that you owned that was valuable like that was taken care of and got treated really well, because you know intrinsically how valuable that is. Yet, for some reason, we often treat ourselves that way. And it's really a bad idea, because ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to hurt our business, right? So I remember years ago when I was actually reading some, personal development books and some things about business and entrepreneurship. One of the things that I read was by Stephen Covey, the seven of highly effective entrepreneurs. And basically the idea was, he tells a story in there that I thought was really fitting in terms of entrepreneurs. And, the story he's telling is something slightly different, but I really see a great parallel. So the way the story goes is he's talking about people working in a machine shop or working in a business. And basically in the business, one of the things that they're doing is they're using the machine to create some kind of output that they're able to sell. And so the long story short is, what happens is there's one guy and he's working the machine, and he's working the machine, and he's not spending the time to shut it down and to do the maintenance on it. He's just working the machine as hard as he possibly can so he can get the maximum possible output, so he can be rewarded for that. And that's exactly what happens. The bosses look and they say, wow, this guy is a rock star. He's churning out output unlike anything we've ever seen. Like, we never even thought that this was possible. That's how well he's doing. But meanwhile, what they're not recognizing is that he isn't taking time to shut the machine down, to clean the parts, to give it a rest, to rehabilitate it, to do all the things, to oil it, and to do all the things that will keep it running smoothly. So what happens is they go ahead and they promote him, and they say, you're doing so good at this that we're going to make you the boss, right? So now you're going to be running this the management of this machine and the whole department. And so he gets patted on the back. So they bring in the next person, and that person starts to use the machine, and within a short period of time, the machine breaks down because it hasn't been maintained. So this new person's output is sort of low. And so what ends up happening is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Management looks at that and says, look, nobody could do it like John could. He was crushing it when he was there. Now we bring in this new guy and he's trying to do it and he can't get the output that John was getting. So John obviously is our superstar here. There's no question about it. And so it sort of builds on itself and John is rewarded. And the parallel that I see with this in terms of our own, our own existence, is that we are the machine. And we're also the machine operator. We're John. So what we do as entrepreneurs and as business owners is we say, you know what? I don't need to sleep. I don't need to eat. I don't need to do any of this stuff. What I need to do is produce. What I need to do is get stuff done because my business depends on it. I've got to be able to make more sales. I've got to be able to create more products. I've got to be able to, do more marketing stuff, do more customer service, whatever it is. And we run ourselves and run ourselves and run ourselves until we get to a point that we break down. Now, as human beings, we have a unique situation in that, unlike a machine like that, where you would ever be able to sort of tie specifically that behavior to what's going on, it's a little bit more vague, right? You start to not feel well, you get sick a little bit, maybe you gained a little bit of weight, your blood pressure goes up a little bit, your cholesterol goes up, you're not eating as well. And they're all sort of subtle things that, and one day isn't going to make any big difference, right? But if we keep at that and we keep doing the same thing, the problem is we will eventually break down. We'll end up with serious health issues. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that isn't great for your business. Because if you are not able to do anything, then neither is your business. And so it's interesting that we sort of prioritize the immediate, right, and the instant and the urgent over ultimately, in this case, something that's even more important. And that is taking care of ourselves as the major asset in our business. And so it's really important that we actually treat ourselves like we are the most important asset, like we are the prize racehorse, like we are the purebred dog, like we are the rare painting or the rare sports collectible, because that is ultimately going to determine what we're able to do in the long term. So what does that mean exactly? I mean, what things can we do and what things do we need to do in order to be able to really focus on that and make sure that we're sort of, doing all the things that we need to do? Well, the first thing is sleep. I know as a business owner, for me, when I was starting, I was working 14, sometimes 16, sometimes even 18 hours a day, getting up early, going to bed really late. And that's understandable. And it's actually okay if it's short term and if it's something that you have a plan to eventually move away from. So it isn't like you should, always prioritize 8 hours of sleep. I mean, obviously, there are going to be times in your business where you need to cram. There are going to be times in your business where you need to invest more and do that. That all makes total sense, and that's not a problem. It's the habit of consistency where it becomes dangerous, where it becomes a problem. So we need to be getting our, whatever it is as an adult now, is 7 hours, I think they recommend. We need to be getting our 7 hours of sleep so we know that we're going to be able to function well the next day. You can get up and you can pump yourself up with caffeine and things like that, and that will get you through the day. But it isn't ultimately good for your body, right? You could still use the caffeine if you need it, I do. But it's important to get enough sleep too, so you aren't constantly tapped into your own reserves and unable to function because you're so sleep deprived. The second thing is diet. And this is a really big one too. Regardless of whether your general idea is you're a really healthy eater, but because you're running a business, it's been a little harder, or whether you love fast food in general, regardless of what it is, you need to balance that. Look, I eat fast food, I eat pizza, I eat hamburgers, I eat that stuff. And there are some days where I have no choice because I'm that busy. But I don't do it all the time. I make sure that I at least have healthy stuff 50% or 70% of the week. So that way I'm feeding myself the nutrients I need to take care of my body and keep all my systems in place, right? Keep everything in check, keep everything working well. And so it's important, if you're strapped for time, you can find ways to eat healthy that aren't that difficult, right? So instead of going to the drive-thru and getting a burger, get a grinder instead, or whatever it is. But make sure that you're doing enough with your diet. One of the big changes I made was I stopped stocking the cupboard with refined snacks like, prepackaged pastries, which are a weakness for me. I love them. And instead I started getting like nuts. I started getting like, salad. I always have a salad made in the fridge that's really easy. So I have something healthy that I can go to. I have yogurt, I have bananas, I have apples. And so I'll reach for that stuff first. And then I get whole grain granola bars. So whatever it is for you is fine. But do something with your diet to at least make sure you're taking care of yourself. You'll feel better also. You have more energy and your body feels better. Third thing is exercise. Now, I'm somewhat of a gym rat, or I like to be, and, maybe that isn't you, and that's totally fine. No one's saying that you need to turn into, Arnold Schwarzenegger or, Usain Bolt. All we're saying is that, it's super important to get some exercise. Whether you go for a walk around the block, we take our dog out every night. We go for a walk. That's some exercise at least. You can do push-ups or sit-ups right in your own home if you need to do that. Go to the gym, run on the treadmill, whatever. Even if it's 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that in and of itself is, statistics have shown, far more beneficial to your health than not doing any at all. So it's important to get some exercise. It's also important, by the way, for personal growth. It's important to spend some time working on yourself. If you are the most valuable asset in your business, right? Wouldn't you logically, doesn't it make sense to invest in yourself? Reward yourself, but also invest in yourself. It doesn't just help you. It's not just indulgent or selfish. It's also selfless, because what you're doing is you're basically building your capacity to run your business better by taking care of yourself and learning more so you can become better at what you do. It's what you'd expect of employees, right? It's what you expect of your kids. If they are in school, you expect them to keep growing. You expect them to get better. And so as a business owner, you're not required to have all the answers. You're just required to continually work on yourself and continually get yourself in a place where you keep getting better and better and better at what you do. And the last element of that is time off. Time off, right? And this is almost a dirty word for entrepreneurs and people that are trying to build a business, because it's something that is really, really difficult for a lot of people to be able to ever consider doing. With taking time off, I know for me, for years, I even took the laptop with me. I had all the stuff with me. If we took the kids to Disney or we went wherever, I always worked at night. And even if you do that, that's okay if you have to do that. But you need some time away, solid blocks of time where you change your environment, right? You physically get away from the office, physically get away from your house, and do something for large chunks of time during entire days where you're unplugged from business. And if it needs to be something where you're forced to be that way, then that's what it needs to be. But that's where you need to get, because you need to do that, because what time off does, right? The irony here is that most people feel like, well, if I take time off, what's going to happen is I'm really going to fall back. I'm going to get worse and worse. I'm going to lose ground. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be overwhelmed by lots of stuff to do. It's true. The adjustment when you come back is tough, because you know that there's a ton of stuff waiting for you. So if you can manage just the maintenance stuff while you're away, that's fine. But you need that time, because what it does is actually the opposite. It rejuvenates you. Okay, it gets you to a point where now you become mentally sharp again. You become physically ready. You've got that energy. You've got that enthusiasm. You've got all of those things that you need to be successful as a business owner. And they've come back in full stride because you took time off. And so it's important to physically be away from the business, physically be away from the office, or if you work out of your house, physically be away from the house. It just is. To be able to get to a point where you can recharge your batteries and, get to a place where you feel that you're ready to go and that you can give your best. It's what you would want from your employees. It's what you'd want from your staff. So it's only fair to expect that from yourself. And, that is really, really the key here, is to make sure that we are as business owners, understanding that our value in the business is immeasurable because we're the people that allocate the assets. We decide who does what in our business. We decide where we put our money, our other assets in the business, what we invest in, what strategy we follow, what marketing tactics we use. So if we aren't operating at our best, how is anything else that we're doing going to operate at its best? It's impossible. We can't expect that we're going to be able to run an effective business if we're all beat down, exhausted, and don't have any energy or ability to think clearly about what needs to be done next. And so that is a critically important point. And, a lot of times it's a guilt thing. We feel guilty if we're indulging in anything that's for us. We feel guilty if we aren't working on our business all the time. We feel guilty if we're doing anything for pleasure because there's always business. But I'm going to tell you a little secret. The business is still going to be there when you get back. And I'm going to tell you another little secret. There is no finish line. So no matter how hard you work or how much work you do, you're never going to get done. So you might as well just manage the flow along the way so you have some boundaries, so you have some limits, and so you have some balance in your life. Because when you do that, you're going to feel better about being a business owner. You're going to feel better about the people that you work with and interact with every day instead of being frustrated or bitter or exhausted or whatever, overwhelmed. You're going to feel better about your own life. You're going to feel better about your decision to become an entrepreneur. And all of those things open up in ways that are going to make you feel a lot better. And so it's super important. I can't stress it enough because I know, I'm in the same boat, that it's very difficult sometimes to treat ourselves and take care of ourselves. We feel like, no, we can handle it. We're tough. We'll soldier on through this. And sometimes that's okay. But sometimes it's also okay and important and necessary to unplug, take care of ourselves, spend some time doing the things we need to do to take care of ourselves so we can be at our best. So the takeaway here is that you are the most important asset in your business because without you, it doesn't work. So as hard as it is, it's crucial that you prioritize yourself. You deserve to take care of yourself. So understand that, feel that, and that will make you a far better and more effective, probably a lot more profitable too, entrepreneur and business owner.